You've probably been hearing for a long time that the real estate market is going to drop any second now. Well, is it really true? Watch to the end for my analysis on the market and whether you can bet on a drop or not. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. It's probably already dropped, depending on where you are right now. The crazy thing is we've already been seeing this happening for quite a little while now. And usually what we call this is a California wave. Often it starts on the West Coast and then it moves itself east. So if you're in the western part of the United States, you probably already noticed a little bit of a drop in the real estate market, haven't you? And maybe it hasn't dropped depending on where you are, but for the most part, especially the bigger cities, and especially places that have been hot, places like Phoenix, yes, they've already noticed a drop. So yes, real estate has been dropping in different parts. I know here in Utah, near Salt Lake City, we saw a significant drop because it got hot. Boise also saw the same thing. So in the Boise market, this is as of here of February of 2023. The Boise market had already dropped, and in some ways it started to try to kind of claw its way back. There's starting to be more buyers coming in. But really, it already saw a drop back in 2022, and many places have. But now if you go more eastward, there are places in the Midwest and even in the East that still haven't seen much of a drop yet. They've seen it settle or stop growing, but they haven't seen much of a drop. But because of this California wave, it usually starts from the west and moves itself east. So guaranteed, you'll start to see more places like Florida, for example. You'll start to see more effects there, maybe in Georgia as well. Definitely in the Northeast, the New England states, they tend to get hit anyways because they've been so overpriced. Not a great place to do real estate regardless. If you're living in one of these areas, you might have noticed some kind of drop happen, or you might think that there probably is some sort of drop happening or about to happen right now. However, how much further will they go? That's the big question everybody asks. That's the $1 million question, or negative $1 million, depending on how expensive your property is and how much it drops, right? Well, really, how much will it drop? It just depends on where you are. The truth is, if you look at these hotter markets, places like in California, and even Seattle, you got some places in Texas that have been pretty hot lately. Phoenix, I'd already mentioned before. Even parts of Florida like Tampa, when they have huge booms, when they have huge, big increases, they often will also have a big decrease to go with it. So the drop can be much more significant. But there are places in the Midwest, like I know places like Kansas City, even like Arkansas, where they didn't really see much of a drop. They even though they kind of came through, they did settle a little bit. Maybe they might have dropped a teeny bit, maybe a fraction, but they didn't drop that much. And those markets, it just kind of ends up being boring. And that's why you don't hear about them on the news. When you hear the news, most of the time it's because of something that's newsworthy. It has to be something that wows you, that makes you want to click for more. They're always looking for you to click and hang on just a little bit longer. And so beware of the news, because they can make it seem like the entire country is going down and it's going to burn hard, right? But that's not the truth. What's really happening is that there are some markets that are doing that and other markets that are not. So if you're wondering about whether it's a good time to buy, if you're trying to buy for your own house, you may not care, because if you're going to be in this thing long term, you may not worry about the value as much. Now, if you're in a shorter term situation, or maybe you're looking to buy a house, maybe you're looking just to flip a property, you got to be very, very careful. Very careful, because if the market does drop on you, you want to make sure there's enough profit in that deal for you to still come out and make money. I've seen many, many people that are novices or amateurs trying to go and flip properties, and they're getting burned, especially in the latter half of 2022. Some of them even went out of business, went bankrupt, and these are guys that might have made millions of dollars flipping before, but they weren't prepared to be able to make it work because they weren't really big on the numbers. But often when we talk about here, we talk more about passive real estate investing. We're not big on trying to do active stuff. And many of our clients, they're really like, I don't want to be a full-time investor. I really want to be a passive investor because I still have a job, or I still have my own business to manage. I don't have to be able to do this full-time. And even if I retired, I don't have to have my hands cuffed where I feel like I have a part-time job or a business here on the side. Totally understand that. So is it a good time for you to buy? Again, it depends on the market. Now, if you're buying for a real estate property, it's not so much the price that you worry about. You're more worried about what's the profit on this deal. How much cash flow do I make? Net passive income after I've paid all my expenses, how much do I really make? So what's crazy about this is that you may not mind being in certain markets because you're not investing the same way everybody else invests. You're investing for cash flow. You're investing for profit. So for example, I mentioned Texas. There have been some really hot areas in Texas that appreciated a lot. But did you know that some of the best properties we have in our network are also in Texas, especially some of those on the lower price range? And so some of these properties we're able to get and buy at a good price, but even better, they rent for a good price because the rents are still higher in those areas. And that's the trick. Some of the places like here in Utah, where I am, rents are low compared to the prices. Prices are high, rents are low. This is true especially in California, Oregon, and Washington. Many of the places in the western half of the United States where you have low rent compared to the price ratio. As a result, you don't make much profit, and it's a gamble. It's very risky to buy it, and you do need to know whether the price dropping is going to happen or not. And of course, often the price does drop in these kind of areas. But again, looking at the Midwest or even the Southeast, in some of these areas, it's not so bad. I'm seeing 10% cash-on-cash returns in some pockets in Texas. Even in places like in the Carolinas or Georgia, there are still areas where it's happening. Again, we don't go for the booming big areas, the places that make news. They're not newsworthy. These are the boring suburban type of communities that everyday folks move into. These are the kind of properties you want. You don't want one-horse towns. You don't want the Las Vegases, at all, because Las Vegas, if the gambling industry tanks, then you're out. You're losing money, right? That happened to people in the last recession. People in Phoenix had a big reckoning that happened as well. Even in Florida in the last recession got hit so hard, it was just miserable for people. However, we're seeing kind of a different change. There's even Florida properties I'm seeing that are actually decent numbers right now. So again, I'm not going to tell you all these different pockets where you can invest because I just told you a few of them that I'm already looking at right now and seeing some good numbers on. And by the time you watch this, who knows? That can change and shift. I have somebody that loves Arkansas right now. They love it beyond just the Ozarks. They love that Arkansas has, again, low prices, higher rents, and they get good returns on that. So is it a good time to buy? If you're buying for that reason and you're buying the right places, absolutely. It's a great time to buy, and you can make some good, solid returns on your properties. Again, if you're buying for yourself, if you have a long-term horizon, a type of perspective in this property, you won't mind it so much. You won't care so much if the prices drop. I will tell you this though, I think that prices could drop a little bit more. And in fact, I actually believe that right now, like I said, it's February 2023, I'm recording this. I actually believe that I think interest rates are going to start going back up again in the spring and summertime. You're going to start seeing those climb again. I could be wrong. You might watch this and say, you're wrong, Chris, but who knows? I actually think that we'll see interest rates go up once more, and that could actually potentially drive prices down. If it does, so be it. The good news is this. If you lock in and buy a property right now, you get it when the rate's low, you look like a hero. Even if rates decide to drop though later on, great. You refinance and you take advantage of it. Either way, you can be right. So it's a good time to buy. It is if you know what you're doing and you're doing it right and buying the right properties where you know that the numbers work out in your favor, where you have profit. That is what you should be going for. In fact, I don't even care about the real estate market as much about whether it goes up or down because I have cash flow coming in all the time. The prices could go down, I still make money. Prices go up, I still make money. I don't care. It's all about the cash flow. That passive income is key. All right, guys, so if you like this video, like and subscribe to our channel, and then check out this next video. What are the pros and cons of paying cash for a house? Should you get a mortgage or not? Here's my answer.